Hello and very warm welcome to everyone joining us today on this special edition of Strength Spotlight. Our focus today is something that sits at the heart of every thriving workplace: how to use strengths to develop high trust, high impact teams. We all know that differences between teams and functions and teams that flows, that feel safe, energized, and empowered to do their best work. And at the core of the transformation, it's not just skill or strategy, but trust and self awareness. To discuss on this topic, we have two incredible speakers and subject matter experts, Deepika Kinger and Abhishek Joshi. Deepika, a seasoned HR and Senior Vice President HR at DCB Bank, has shaped leadership development, succession planning, and digital transformation. Known for her bold thinking and people first approach, she guides organizations through transformative journeys by unlocking human potential and driving impactful future ready talent strategies. Abhishek is a seasoned Gallup Global Strength Coach and practice head with a rich background of talent management and organizational development. He has established strength based leadership practice within numerous organizations, ranging from large scale companies to growth based organizations. Welcome, Deepika and Abhishek. It's a pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you,
Good
Noor.
afternoon. Good
Good
afternoon,
Yeah.
Abhishek.
good afternoon, Deepika. Thank you.
So let's dive in right. Let's start with something personal. What first shifted your mindset about the power of strengths? Was there a defining moment or early experience that made you believe in it deeply? So, anyone can, this question is for both of you. Anyone can choose to answer first.
Deepika, kindly, please.
Okay. So for me, the whole focus on Strength Finder or the power of strengths came in with my erstwhile HR head. So it was in a feedback session with him. So I was asked to do an assessment way back in 2007 as I was joining the bank, and I was asked to do an assessment, and I was very and being the person I was very alarmed with the number of questions. So I think I had to answer close to about 70 to 80 questions in a time span almost of about half an hour. And I was like, where is all this going? In that sense. Uh, so when I sat in for the feedback session with my HR head, I was quite surprised because I was amazed at his ability to understand, what would make me tick, what could be ways in which I probably would have sabotaged myself,
Hmm.
uh, and just the connect he was able to build with me through the assessment results that he had with him.
Hmm.
Incidentally, he was a Gallup certified coach, and he introduced Gallups to me at that point in time, the whole Clifton Strength Finder instrument.
Right.
uh, I was also intrigued by the fact that it was something which introduced my strengths, because usually, as someone who's been both in the front line and in the support business, instruments came with areas of strengths, but also areas of development.
Right.
So there was always that that bit of a unveiling which used to happen to say, "Acha, this is good about you, but this is something that you need to work on." But
Hmm.
this was really different because this said these are your strengths. So the whole connotation or the discussion was extremely positive on that account.
Right.
So and the whole connect that was built on basis that. So one of the things he was able to identify early is my connect with people, but also where the connect would be very very trust based in that sense, because I had relator in my top 5. I also had achiever which stood out, which is why that gung ho ability to go right after what was given to me from an execution perspective at that point in time. And that whole discussion and that moment stayed with me, where he did the entire debriefing session, and I thought, hey, someone is just taking so much interest in me and my strengths. It
Yeah.
made me realize how often we can end up misreading people if we don't understand their strengths, when we don't understand probably what drives them. So this really brought things in a very different perspective to me, and it shifted how I viewed performance and potential thereafter,
Right.
for my own
Wow.
myself, my team members, for my stakeholders. And it's not always loud, but kind of deeply consistent in that sense, which is what I like about this strength finder.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you. Very well said. And Abhishek, your point of view.
No, I think first of all, Deepika, I also have achiever and relator in my top five strengths, so that's a very nice to hear this, and I understand, how people who have achiever and relator operate. For me, it's like when I was working as a head of learning in OD, I got a chance to know about this process for the first time. That was 10, 12 years ago, and then I was like, very very happy to see that something of this sort exists. And then
Hmm.
what happened, I offered a leadership development program. I curated a learning journey for the leaders in my organization, and I saw a very very positive acceptance. Many times what happens when we offer instrument, we offer leadership development programs, especially to leaders. uh, I mean, they don't become very non-threatening and non-prescriptive. So this was a very non-threatening and non-prescriptive process that I got inducted to. And I thought that after, because many times when we offer leadership development program, people often, it is very difficult for people to make changes. I saw people were making changes, and the simplest change that they were making is accepting self the way they are, and accepting others the way others are. So that was like a great turning point for me, and I saw that people are accepting each themselves really well. They are keen to also look at certain areas which don't come naturally to them, and they are happy to accept that. And so let's say they were a group of 20 leaders who went through this entire learning journey of 3.5 4 months. So in the process, what happens, they start understanding that, okay, this person leads HR and has top five strengths, but still very successful in that domain. I lead procurement. I come from different top five strengths, sales, finance, and all that. People saw that there are different ways of leading teams, leading self, and they got a language and data points around it. So that was like a turning point for me, and I jumped into this. I did my Gallup Global certification, and I started, practicing this. And it's been 10 years now, Neelam, and I live this every day. This has impacted me so deeply. But that was the start point, how it started impacting me when I saw some simple, visible changes in my environment. So that's how.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's such a great place to begin with, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Deepika, once you believe in it, you had to bring it to others as well. So, what did the initial rollout of strengths look like in your organization, and how did people respond to at first? Excitement, resistance, or curiosity? Yeah.
So I really like the fact that it's like putting your buck behind what you say, right? In that sense. So I like the fact that when I underwent a session for my debriefing for strengths, it was something that was a norm for the team that I belonged to, which was the HR team.
Hmm.
And whether you're a beginner, whether you are there at a senior level, each and every one of us knew each other's strengths, and also the way we impacted each other basis those strengths.
Right.
Mm.
Uh, and as we went on to, like they say, the proof is in the pudding, right? In that sense. So, in that sense, we were able to take it to levels ahead because
Mm.
of our conviction, I would say. So the rollout actually began with pilots at our senior levels. Okay, so for
Oh,
those who are at the leadership level, we were able to create some bit of curiosity but also caution,
Right.
especially
mm.
from people who had seen many tools come and go, right? And that is what
Yes.
happens at that level. And why did
Right.
Right.
we probably look at those levels? Because like they say, I mean, there's always a different way to look at things. There's always a bottoms up approach, there's a top down approach, but here we felt the conviction had to be built top down, where
Right.
they could see
Mm.
the benefit and then be able to, with that appreciation, with that awareness, appreciation, create some sort of adoption within the system also.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
What changed the game was when we actually shared our MD strengths at that point in time alongside his core team. Okay, and I
Uh-huh.
had this
Mm.
beautiful opportunity of actually crystallizing a session like this at a very, very senior level. And I was able to see it in people's eyes when they saw the synergy, the complementary energies because of the description of the strengths, and not just the just the names. In that sense, what
Right.
each of the strengths meant was also out there. We were explaining it with examples, etc.
Mm.
So it wasn't theoretical anymore. Okay. There was
Right.
a reality component that was built in, and leaders
Hmm.
actually started saying things like, no wonder we align well.
Right.
Okay. You could see those small aha moments,
Yeah.
Yes.
so it's like, oh, okay, so the MD has activator, I also have activator. Is that why I'm able to
Right.
jumpstart some of those initiatives? Is that how
Right.
I'm able to bring people together in that sense? Or
Right.
that, this person is strategic. Oh,
Mm.
so that is how he's able to see, or appreciate the big picture, or bring the dots together. So that whole
Hmm.
transparency made it a very safe journey to explore strengths openly. Okay.
Right.
Hmm. Right.
And I think that session, or that particular stage really set it up for us from a culture perspective, at least in the leadership channels.
Right.
Right.
And today, every leader at the senior level who has joined us, they know their top five and how to build partnerships,
Mm.
Hmm.
within key stakeholders, within team members, etc., using them. So I think
Right.
that was the game changer, or how we really started the rollout in that sense with DCB.
Yeah. Great.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, and a lot. Yeah, what you mentioned, that top-down approach is always working, and now the culture has already, set up in the organization. That's how strength-based culture is there. So, Abhishek, you has coached a wide range of individuals and
Yeah.
teams. In your
Right.
coaching work, how does strength create a shift in how individuals see themselves, especially in team setting?
Right. So what happens? It first of all does not create shift. It shows mirror. So that's the first point, start point. So what happens that so when we work with senior leaders, so fact is that they have reached up to a senior leadership role because they've done a lot of things right, and they are often scared that when the new program is going to come and someone is going to tell them that this is not right,
Hmm.
and therefore that's how you can approach it. So what happens,
Yeah.
the positioning of the name itself, strength based leadership, when we talk, when the positioning happens, when the program is announced for the first time, there is a kind of curiosity that they come with. Okay, uh,
Hmm.
I don't know my strengths, I've been working for 20 years, 25 years now, is it something missing?
Def-
So they look at it in a very positive way, that
hmm.
what else, they all come with this assumption also many times, which is true, that okay, certain validity of certain thoughts will happen, so I might know it, but they will use an instrument and tell me something about. So that's the
Hmm.
start point. So first is non-threatening, non-prescriptive, and an approach where we are trying to understand them more. So like Deepika said, first time someone is taking so much interest in understanding what is right with me and getting into nitty
Hmm.
gritties of how I have been able to leverage what is right with me and how can I leverage more. No one is so that's a big shift for them. That okay, so this should I continue doing this more? This is something which I have been doing. At the same time, when they understand that how it may also impact how they build partnerships and how they will have to act
Hmm.
themselves, use their strength so that they are able to build complementary partnership. When we talk about basement and balcony and all these concepts, it becomes very easy for them. So if you look
Right.
at, they get root causes of lot of feedback, lot of things which have been said to them, whatever is there in their environment. So see, everyone comes to office to succeed, and
Yeah.
when they get feedback, when they see a lot of data points around them, they also want to internalize and understand that where it is coming from. So the
Hmm.
biggest shift is they get answer to where it is coming from, and
Right.
then that's good good enough, and then they know how to take action. And that's the
Yeah.
biggest shift that happened, because we don't prescribe, they internalize. Like Deepika said, there are so many aha moments, and for
Yeah.
someone who's been working for 15, 20 years in a corporate environment, if we are able to get 3 or 4 aha moments, they are good enough for them to take action. That's so
Right.
these aha moments trigger actions automatically, and that's the biggest shift that happens. So without prescription, without saying that you implement this, I mean, so that's the biggest shift that happens, and that's really beautiful about this entire framework. Yeah.
Absolutely, I understand that, because once you get to know that somebody is taking interest in me, and that's for the the positive aspects of what we are doing and our strengths, which again, and that's where when we understand how our strengths can work for us and how strength we can leverage them more. That's absolutely right, Abhishek, and rightly said. So this thought, Deepika, I would want to come to you. It's amazing when we how we get in self awareness, and that opens a door for empathy and collaboration. So, question to you is: how did you engage in leadership in this journey, and what made them buy into the value of strengths at strategic level?
So, we were very, very intentional. Like I said, since the first session where we had a discovery session where the MD and the leadership team was able to understand what are the synergies, etc., that they have, and everybody idealizes someone, right, in that sense, or
Hmm.
wants to be in a certain position, etc. So that was created very intentionally. Okay, this wasn't
Hmm.
introduced as an HR initiative at all in that sense. Okay,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
positioned it in a way to unlock better communication,
Hmm.
smoother cross functional collaboration, and more
Hmm.
effective, in a manner, succession planning also.
Yes.
Okay. Also, very, very importantly, teamwork, when we say, it's very underrated. Okay. Teamwork or communication cannot happen unless you understand the underlying uh, aspects of what a person is trying to bring to the table, right, in that sense. So
Yes.
getting to know a person a little bit more, or creating that
Hmm.
connection medium, because otherwise you're always hoping that because you've had multiple interactions you'll be able to build those connection points, whereas
Hmm.
with strengths you already have one connection point to start with,
Mm.
or if
Hmm.
you have to say in the top five connection points to start with, how do you work with this person more effectively, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Or how do you appreciate this person's perspective more effectively, so
Hmm.
Right.
what really resonated was when we map leaders strengths with those of their key stakeholders.
Mhm.
It
Hmm.
helped them understand how to work better together, not
Right.
just what to do. Okay,
Right.
because
Hmm.
otherwise discussions become just more of, this is the outcome, but what about the inputs? How
Mm.
do you
Right.
appreciate all of those elements?
Mm.
uh, I think one of the other moments which I really remember, and we continue to have some moments, is where a person looks to me and says, "I don't know how this test or this assessment was able to get this. I thought nobody realized, that I have this." It's one thing to have a talent, but to be seen. You understand from
Hmm.
where I'm coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're finally beginning to be seen, in that sense for that. And it
Right.
just gives you an opportunity to understand that there is untapped potential in a
Mm.
person, which the strength finder tells you that, hey, have you looked at probably understanding that one of your team members has this, or one of your stakeholders has this. Have you really given him a chance to bring that to the table, or
Right.
have
Hmm.
you taken a refuge in that particular strength when you had a problem,
Mm. Mm.
Right.
so those are some moments that really make the discussion or the coaching exercise even more special, and takes it to the next level, because that's when the
Hmm.
person says, I now get why I work so well with the one of the people who matters to me, and our
Right.
strengths actually bridge each other's blind spots.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are things that really make a difference. Also, I think
Hmm.
one of the things that we always say from a strength finder perspective is that you may have top 5, you may have top 10, but all of these are great to know, but unless you invest in them, which means practice them time and time again, bring them to the fore time and time again, it's
Right.
not
Hmm.
really going to remain a strength. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So different scenarios help you bring different strengths, but are you
Hmm.
capitalizing on it? you
Right.
know
Yes.
are you
Hmm.
mindfully bringing it to the table or not, are
Right.
aspects that one should consider.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Very well articulated and very well said, Deepika. And I am totally aligned with the thought which you have shared. And absolutely, that bridge the gap, and the intention and why behind every statement or every things communicated to you. So you understand why and how and where is this coming from. So absolutely right. Now, my questions to both of you. We have talked about connection, communication, and all. Let's talk about something we all value very deeply, that is trust. So what does high trust look like in practical and everyday team behavior, and how does the strength based approach help build that trust faster? Both of you, can anyone can choose to answer first.
Over to you, Abhishek. This time it doesn't have to be ladies first
Uh,
always.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Deepika. Thanks. Thank you. So let's decode trust. So when we talk about trust, and let's simplify trust. So trust often comes when we start understanding who others are, and we have some data points about them, and those data points are reliable, credible, and valid about them. When we understand how they think and how they feel, behave, and how they do what they do, that's the start point of the trust. So when we have, like Deepika said, when we have strength mapped of an organization or of a group of people, they start understanding, they start accepting self the way they are, also accepting others the way they are. I'll give you an example and explain how did it happen. So there was an organization we were working with, and we did a lot of work with them. So the organization was going through a transformation process, and the CEO of the organization recruited one chief transformation officer, and he was a brilliant guy, and came, started working in the organization, and he was part of every meeting initially, in initial 2 months. After that, CEO found something missing, and he found that, okay, suddenly this person's engagement level, participation level in meetings dropped, and he was not able to understand, figure out that why did this happen. So somehow we got in touch. We were trying to do pitch a leadership development program to that organization. We suggested that let's look at strength based approach. Perhaps your team needs more understanding, and that will become a foundation to drive transformation in the organization. When we did this entire exercise, we found that one of the strengths of the chief transformation officer was deliberative. And what was happening when he came in the organization, he was part of every meeting, and he was using deliberative incorrectly, and the basement of deliberative, as we say. And as a process, while CEO was very happy with this person deliberation, because he was making everyone caution about this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. But people were losing trust, and that's how this was the real problem statement. When we did this entire strength-based leadership for 3.5 months with them, we understood each other's strength. We also understood chief transformation officer's strength. We brought them together, and we told them, we gave them a lens that you have a team member who can deliberate for you, who can help you prevent from losses, and you are also looking at this individual as someone who is passive, who's always pinpointing things. So that actually, this entire perspective, it's not a simple perspective, change everything about them. So few certain moments of self-realization happen for the chief transformation officer, certain, I mean, for their team members, but three things happen. Their alignment, openness, and initiative orientation really went up. And we continue working with them, and when we talk to them and we say that, okay, how things are going, they say now we make sure that when our boss calls for a review meeting, we just share our presentation with the chief transformation officer. We say, okay, why don't you just have a look at it? Maybe that person helps us change in some font size, some data, something. So if you look at from no trust to high trust, by simply understanding data points, and those data points are top five strengths. And I always say that the simplest data point which can be available to an organization to about their team members is their top five strengths, and that can do a lot of transformation. You don't need a lot of other things. So that's a real case of how from low trust to high trust transformation happens, just using simple strength based philosophy. That's
Wonderful, Abhishek. Deepika, your take on it.
So that was very, very thought provoking, Abhishek, in what you said. And that's where the appreciation for complementary skill sets also really comes in. So for
yeah.
us, high trust shows up when people, and when I say people, I mean, where each of us give each other space to work in our own style. And
Right.
Mm.
sometimes it's very underrated. When I say that, I
Yeah.
mean, that it's about understanding where I'm coming from. So for example, if someone has responsibility, and they say, I'll handle it, it
Right.
essentially means I don't need to do 2 3 follow-ups, right?
Yeah.
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 Or like you correctly said, if someone has deliberative, you don't mistake their caution for resistance, right? It's
Yeah.
Yes.
about respecting their process,
Perspective.
right?
Right.
So strengths gives us that shared language, that
Mm.
normalizes differences and
Mm.
also brings to the table people when they're required. So I remember very recently when I was working with my head of HR, and we had to, come up with, new initiatives for the year. And I
Mm.
loved when she asked me, दीपिका क्विकली देख ले हमारी टीम में कितने लोगों के पास आइडिएशन है,
Ah,
ओके, या कितने लोगों के पास
wow.
स्ट्रेटेजिक्स है, एंड अ
Wow.
कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ दोस स्ट्रेंथ्स, क्या
Yeah.
किसके पास फ्यूचरिस्टिक है, यू नो and sometimes that simple calling means that appreciation,
Yeah.
it creates that psychological safety which says that's how trust is happening in our workplace, and
Right.
how it can accelerate also,
Mm.
rather than something which can drain you to say that kab mujhe wo chance milega, when will someone finally recognize that I can also do this,
Right.
so that pang is otherwise always there, in some of our peers, right, ki
Right.
they didn't know that I could do this, right? Some of
Hmm.
those
Mm.
discussions, especially some of those attrition discussions, when you have people say, I just wish what I'm getting now, I always had it through, why
Mm.
didn't they know that I could do this,
Right.
So, so those are some thoughts that I thought we can, quickly share on this point.
Thank you, Deepika. I think
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. You want to add anything, Abhishek?
no, no. I think I really like the example of looking at data and seeing that how many of have them ideation, and also
Right.
like so you start understanding that okay, this is something. So someone who has responsibility. So let's say I have people in my team who have responsibility. I never follow up. I never bother. I know that if they have taken something, it's psychological ownership they have taken. If even if they are not meeting the deadline, they will be proactive and coming and telling me that hey, I've not been able to meet this. Can you give me some time? So that is when you know this, absolutely. I think I really like this example of responsibility and looking at ideation in people and giving
In
them
fact, if I could just add for
please,
a
please.
second over here, and I liked what you talked about basement and balcony. So just for simplicity's sake, very often, so the strength finder tells you your top 34, right?
Right.
Mm.
So I remember when I did my top 34, the top five is what comes to you naturally. The
Right.
next five is what you really need to invest in time and time again. I also was asked to look at my bottom five in that sense. Okay. Uh, and I realized empathy is in the bottom five. Okay. And I was like, oh my God, does that mean that I can't have those kind of discussions where there would be, I respect that emotional value that a person also brings to the table? Or am I not able to put myself in their shoes, etc.? But what it gave me a perspective, and I remember how beautifully it was connoted to me. I was not born to be Santa Claus, right?
Mhm.
Santa
Mm.
Claus also is able to come down the chimney only once a year, right? In that
Yeah.
sense, and he really has to struggle when he's coming down. So Santa Claus also has challenges, right?
Mm.
Having said that, so it's about being conscious that when you face challenges and you know that that's not your natural strength, it's not your natural strength, but it's somebody else's natural strength in your team. Are you calling them on or not? Are
Mhm.
you
Right.
deliberating with them or not? So that was a
Right.
beautiful way to make me realize about my top five, my top 10, and also my bottom five in a very, very beautiful way. And I could
Right.
see the merit of applying it. And even with my peers, I've seen that they were able to see the merit of applying some of these very simple, very basic aspects when things come in. Like audits are very easy peasy places, where each one thinks that, okay, I just want to close it. But it's not about closing it, it's about
Mhm.
thematically being able to address it. And if you're not the best person, can you bring on the best person from your team who can
Right.
Mm.
address it? Is that skill set there? Are you able to see that strength in that person and bring them to the right at the right time, the right place?
Right.
Right. So wonderful, wonderful, takeaway from you. It's like seeing every individual as a team, your team members with the lenses of strength and understanding where we can, implement whose strength where and what time. Where that's very important for as a team to work with, and that builds a trust as well. Once you understand the strengths of your team members and understand where they're coming from, intent you understand, so you know whom to reach out to, whom to approach when you hit with that particular situation and circumstances. Absolutely. So the next question, I bring it to you, Deepika, that uh, can you share any stories, any moment, or where strengths helped a team overcome a tension, friction, or a conflict?
Yeah, I think when you're working, I think when you have five fingers, we they all can do some things, but they can't do something. So we all usually agree to disagree on some things, right? That this can do
Yeah.
this or this can do that, etc. Right? So the normal aspect would be when you have two leaders who probably are at a disagreement stage. One who's probably
Mm.
very direct and fast paced, but the other is more consensus driven. In that sense.
Mhm.
Mm.
So in meetings, there was some constant banter and underlying tension between these leaders, I noticed. But when I had their debriefing sessions, and both were had achiever in them, so both wanted to make things happen, but also had other strengths with them in their top five. Okay, so when their individual strengths briefing was had, we arranged for those, we discovered that one probably had command and the other had harmony. Just to give you
Mhm.
a
Mm.
quick example, okay.
Yeah.
So they weren't difficult people. It's just that they processed decisions very differently.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Right.
once we were able to help them uh, reframe and understand that their styles are complementary, so it's
Mm.
courage versus consensus, they began to
Mm.
appreciate each other's value at the table, right? Because
Mhm.
Mm.
even when you want to question the status quo, at the end of the day, you still need some consensus to start doing something, right? In that
Mhm.
sense, right?
Mhm.
None of our jobs operate in alone, right? In that sense, so their collaboration on cross functional projects has definitely been smoother since, and
Mm.
sometimes they even joke about their styles now. So I know
Mm.
that they do value what strengths could make a difference in for them. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. And I can totally relate with it because I have a top five strength harmony and I have a team member who is command a top five strength. So I can totally relate with it. And we have, now understood how to work alongside and how to, leverage each other's strengths. And, so I can totally relate with it and understand where you're coming. And the example is apt for, to understand how it can bring synergies with each other. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this too, Abhishek. So, Abhishek, awareness is one thing, and second thing, application. So,
Mhm.
how do teams move to simple knowing their strengths to actually, using them to collaborate better and perform consistently? So,
Sure. So, Neelam, first of all, data.
okay.
Data triggers action,
Mhm.
right? So the first is that from knowing to doing. So they
Right.
know a lot about data. They understand a lot of things. So like Deepika was talking about a discussion that took place. You get a
Mm.
shared language, you have common and neutral understanding, and you relate with this. So first
Mm.
is that data helps people know and decode everything. Once
Mm.
that decoding happens, a lot of moments of self-realization are generated during that time,
Right.
and then
Right.
it triggers action. And
Mm.
in addition to that, the framework itself talks about three things: name it, claim it, and aim it. So name it
Mm.
means first understand it. Claim it means gather a lot of evidences. So for example, let's say if you look at uh, Deepika as in an organization where she has implemented this largely at a very large level. So if you look at in all examples, she has quoted data, right,
Yeah.
relevant information. So because that's name it. You understand evidences and all that. Name it, claim it, and aim it. So when these two things happen, people automatically take action, right? A
Right.
little bit of push is required to make them understand this data really, really well. Areas
Mm.
of applications are fine in real time. So many times, people say that, okay, if we go through strength-based leadership, when will the change happen? We say
Mm.
immediately, as soon
Mm.
as they understand this completely. And where will
Mm.
that change happen? Daily
Mm.
situations. Like, if you look at this example, let's look at ideation. Who all have ideation? Now,
Mm.
if you look at it, it is very simple statement to make, but it
Mm.
is it is coming from a lot of understanding about people, data, and it is coming so seamlessly that we are saying, okay, this is how
Right.
it can be said. Now,
Right.
look at this is where application happens, and this was the example of application. The example that Deepika gave about responsibility, that is an
Mm.
example of application. Nilam, you talked about that you have a team member who has command, and you are figuring out a way of working with that individual, and without getting into conflict. You are giving space, you are getting your own space. This is
Right.
application. So the application happens in real time scenarios. You don't have to wait for ideal scenarios to see the application of strength sign. It happens real time, like the examples that all of us are sharing. These are real time daily examples which we go through every day, and at times these moments become complicated moments to deal with while we talk very high level things otherwise. but these moments are very complicated for us to deal with, and they are building blocks. So it
Mm.
impacts the real time real life scenarios. That's how the application, the extension of understanding becomes an application in daily life. Right? So that's
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely, Abhishek. I totally agree with you, and I really, this is a valid point which we do every day. Every day, once you know strength of yourself and others, you start accepting others as they are, and you start accepting yourself as well. So that brings me to another question to you, Abhishek.
Yeah.
What is the difference between doing a strengths workshop and actually building a strength-based culture?
So I think Neelam, Deepika is the right example. She's the brand ambassador. She and her
Yes.
organization, how they have created strength-based culture in the organization. And I would not like to say anything beyond that, because we have someone who is living it. Her entire organization was practicing strength-based leadership. So yeah, so workshop could be a start point, but only workshop doesn't help here. Because this practice has this ability of impacting an organization culture very, very deeply. The daily conversation that take place, the corridor conversation that happens. Actually, culture lies in those corridor discussions, day-to-day discussions, and real life discussion that we have. So culture is not something which is looked at in isolation than the environment of the organization. And it's if any practice which can have impact in real environment, uh, it is useful. So workshop could be a few people. So for example, let's say when we started doing this in India, Neelam, a lot of organizations used to look at it as just assessment. There are very few organizations, like Deepika's organization is one, who have understood this practice in and out. And
Right.
good news is that there are more organizations who are understanding it, that it is not a training program, it is not a development program, it is something which is beyond that. And that's how the scaling up is also happening. So that's my take on this.
Deepika, your take on this? Anything you would like to add here?
So I think actually Abhishek has already kind of summarized it. So and I said this right at the beginning. So awareness, appreciation, and adoption. So awareness starts with the whole workshop piece. So unless you
Hmm.
educate and make your whole the cohort which is going to be impacted by it, and make them understand the value of it, or bring them to realize the value of it, some of these things don't take off. Two,
Yeah.
when you actually are with them in those moments of aha, where they realize that value. Okay.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay, this is what, like I remember one of the conversations I had, and the leader was talking to me and he said, I would always wonder that why this gentleman would always start by asking me, but isse pehle kya ho raha tha? Why were things happening this way? Why don't you give me some sort of a brief, or a framing first, and then let's come to the concerned issue. And he was talking simply about contextualization, and when I was listening to him, so basically, the cross functional leader that this person was dealing with would always prefer a bit of a context before he or she could get into the whole solutioning perspective, etc., and then the other strengths would kick in.
Right.
But just the fact that each time this person would ask this, would actually put this person two steps back. मुझे हर बार ये study क्यों करके जाना चाहिए? And now he understood the value. अच्छा, मैं अगर ये करके जाऊंगा, then he has a better perspective of how to probably arrive at a solution, or he's
Right.
able to put two and two together. So in
Right.
that
Hmm.
sense, some of these things from an awareness point of view really are the starting points, I would say. But then
Yeah.
the whole realization process, where they can still soundboard with you and tell you, hey, actually, this is what this person meant. Hey, this is how I'm now able to see this person in this light, makes you understand that how is it now percolating, in that sense. So
Hmm.
I appreciate what Abhishek brought to the table in that sense with his perspective.
Thanks,
Right.
Deepika.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepika, and thank you, Abhishek. So, the next question to both of you: uh, what is the impact of strengths on leadership conversations, especially during the tough times and transactions or in change?
Deepika, your time this time. Round robin. So I think
Yeah, I'm thinking now we're in the super over, but yeah, okay, fine.
yeah.
Uh, um, but I kind of get it, in times of change, I think what I've seen strengths do, and honestly, a practitioner would realize that more than just somebody who's aware of it, but it brings in a lot more emotional granularity, in that sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So from the point of view, and I recall, one of the discussions that were happening when some restructuring, etc., was going on for certain teams, and the leader actually said or started that conversation by saying, that I have empathy and responsibility, so it's not easy for me. And this is a one-to-one conversation we were having, but my
Mm.
strategic strength sees the big picture. Okay.
Mm.
It kind of stood out for me at that point in time because uh, you it's not just the vulnerability, but also uh, the fact that the person was uh, going to be making an effort to make his or her team realize through their lens that while it's not just about executing change, but also there was a humanizing aspect of it,
Mm.
um, and how the person had planned out the entire trust and the buy-in through that entire conversation. Very few people are able to uh, get that buy-in before bringing in big change, right? Usually it's kind of assumed, and even if you see Instagram reels or anything, there's always a bit of
Mm.
fun that is poked in at leaders. अरे सांप को बोला गया था ये करने को, कर दिया उन्होंने. Okay. They miss telling you the fact that there was a conversation, there
Mm.
was a
Mm.
moment when they said that no, this is as important. And I think Ratan Tata stands out for me in this. And I remember when the 26/11 happened in India, and he was there. He was there at the hotel once things cleared up, to see if everybody was okay, not just
Mm.
customers. The easiest way to have put it at that time was, I'm there to see if my customers are okay who visited the Taj, but he was there to see his employees also. And
Right.
for him, employees always came first, right? In that
Right.
sense. And all of us always have this dream that, what made employees give up their life in those
Mm.
moments, so
Mm.
Hmm.
when leaders are able to bring this to the table, to say that they know that they will walk the talk and they
Mm.
look after folks
Mm.
Hmm.
Mm.
who've been through challenges, not them, just them, but their entire families through their life.
Mm.
Anyone
Mm.
who's worked in the Tata Group would swear by them on that sense,
Mm. Mm.
and it's one of those clinchers which makes them work with them also, because leaders walk the talk. And some of these trends, and maybe I don't know if Ratan Tata did his strength finder, but I'm sure some of these trends, empathy and responsibility, would have been there in his top 10, in that
Number
sense,
one, absolutely.
Absolutely.
because they kind of displayed it on the ground, right? It came through in their conversations, and they didn't lose the strategic perspective either at any given point of time. There is a responsibility right there.
Right.
So that's I again hope that I have answered what you were looking for.
Yes, absolutely, Deepika. And I really, totally aligned with what you have shared. And Abhishek, your thoughts on it?
So yeah, so I just in addition to what Deepika said, I first of all completely agree with what she said, and my point is, so let's say when we have tough conversation in the organization, uh, tough conversation only can only take place genuinely, honestly, when people are aware about each other's intentions, and
Right.
strengths actually gives you that understanding of intention, and based on that intention you can argue, you can have tough conversation, you can give feedback, and with this trust that other person is also understanding it the way you are communicating it, so
Hmm.
that makes having tough conversation very very easy and simple, so because intent is often invisible, rest
Right.
all is available,
Action.
visible, but strengths actually help you understand intent of that individual. So even if that person is not around, I'm thinking about that person, I will always go back and think about that. Okay, why did this person did this correctly, and why if some mistake has happened, then why did this happen? So if I have to give feedback to this individual, I'll be very objective. I'll kind of create a support system for that individual. So let's say if I understand that does not come naturally to this individual, so I'll be happy to create a support system around it. So that's what it does. That's the
Yeah.
answer to your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think we have an organization, we have already also seen that thing happening through the strengths and how we, during tough times, how we work together and how we, leverage each other and support each other. And having that trust, once we know the strength, we understand each other. That's wonderful. Thank you, Deepika. It was wonderfully explained, and Abhishek. Thank you. So now there is a last. We have just come to the end of the session, and the last question I want to put you forward to quickly. What advice would you like to give to those trying to embed strengths across multiple levels and locations? And any do's and don'ts you want to your experience?
Abhishek first.
No, thanks, Deepika. So quickly, I'd like to just pick up, what Deepika mentioned, how they implement it. Start with top, create that bind, create, the top leaders, take them through a learning journey, help them understand it completely, let them internalize it. It will become a movement in the organization that will drive culture in the organization. That's my short answer to your question, Neelam. Deepika, anything?
Thank you, Abhishek.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Deepika?
So Abhishek did take away a little bit of what I wanted to say, but let me just try and do some justice to the last question. Like they say, save the best for the last. Okay, so don't aim to scale first would be my recommendation. Okay,
Okay.
I love the whole concept of pilots. I like the whole aspect where we need to aim for awareness, appreciation, and adoption. Start
Yeah.
where it matters the most, like Abhishek said, leadership teams, business critical teams. It's about showing real use cases. It's not about just
Mm.
keeping it conceptual. Okay, I think, and
Right.
one of our big wins come when team leads start using strengths in their one-to-one conversations and check-ins. Even something as simple as when my HR had asked me that how can who are those guys who have the ideation strength, futuristic strength, or strategic strength when we are ideating for our next year's new initiatives. Let's make them a part of this journey.
Yeah.
In a way, sometimes it becomes a coaching moment also for a lot of us who are trying to create that awareness with our leaders. Okay, and I would also say it's about using it in real business rhythms, reviews, feedback, and that's when it stops being a tool and becomes part of how an entire organization thinks and responds.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
that would be my little statement.
Thank you, Deepika.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Deepika, and thank you, Abhishek. Thank you. It's been, such an insightful and practical conversation today, from rollout to leadership buy-in, from conflict resolution to culture building. You have given a rich playbook for how strengths can be a true enabler to high trust and high impact teams. To our audience, thank you for joining us today. If you have found this session valuable, make sure you follow Strength Masters for more such discussions. If you have any question, please reach out to us on LinkedIn or drop us an email at neelam@strengthmasters.com. To everyone watching here, departing thought to you. Trust is not built in a day, but it is built every day. The strength gives us language, the lens, and the leadership to do just that. Until next time, keep building with strengths, keep leading with trust, and keep unlocking the collective power of your teams. Thank you for joining us, and thank you. Have a great day. Thank you, Deepika, and
Thank you.
thank you, Abhishek.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Deepika.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Neelam.
Neelam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.